Imagine you were Moshe Rabbeinu in Parshat Korach. Two great miracles just happened to prove that Moshe was right. So 250 people who wanted to take the kuna to bring korbanot, and they had the wrong intentions, fire came down and burnt them. And the political troublemakers, Datan v'Aviram in their camp, in Shevet Ruvain, they were swallowed by the earth, and that was a sign that Moshe was right and the people were wrong. What happened the very next day? We're told in chapter 17 in Perek Yud Zayin, Vayhi mimocharat, was the next day, basically. Vayilonu kol adam b'nei Yisrael mimocharat, al Moshe ve'al Aaron lemor, atem hamitem et am Hashem. Instead of realizing they were wrong, the entire congregation the next day blames Moshe and Aaron for the death of their comrades. How could that be? In other words, with all these miracles, how could it be that the people still don't get the message and they're blaming Moshe and Aaron for the death of what happened? Now, they're blaming for the death of Am Hashem. Who's Am Hashem? It seems like that's not the political group that was challenging Moshe's political leadership. That sounds like more the 250 men who wanted to bring sacrifices. Everyone's holy, why can't we bring korbanot? In other words, you have privileges, why can't we have privileges? And they think that Moshe's idea to come and test it in the Mishkan and everyone being Ktoret, and they listened to Moshe Rabbeinu and they all brought their fire pan with Ktoret, and all those people died with the fire, it looks like Moshe was setting them up. In other words, you can have a miracle, God can help you. If you're not able to translate that miracle into an educational message, it seems like it doesn't help. And therefore, the job of educators and religious leaders is not just to ask God for a miracle, but there's a need to translate the miracle to an educational message so that people understand and make it a transformative memory that will shape their behavior and help them understand God better. You can have all the amazing activities. If the students don't have the right attitude, you have to deal with their attitude problem, and that requires education. In wake of that event, God is going to provide Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron with a solution that hopefully will solve any future problems. It's a strange event that happens, but God tells Moshe Rabbeinu later in chapter 17 to take the staffs of all the leaders of the 12 tribes, including the staff of Aaron in the name of the tribe of Levi, bring them all to the Moed, and the staff that will flower will win this contest, and that will put an end to all the people's complaints. I read the pasuk. What does God say? Put them all in the Moed, put all these staffs in the Moed, and the man that God's going to choose, his staff will flower. That will put an end to all the complaints of the people complaining about God and complaining about you. That should solve the problem. And sure enough, the Mateh, the staff of Aaron, wins the contest. Moshe takes the staff. And listen to what God tells Moshe Rabbeinu to do. Take the staff of Aaron that won this contest, and should be now a proof to put an end to all these complaints. Put it in front of the Edut, that means in the oil moed inside. The Mishmeret, for safekeeping. Lo'ot livnei Meri, as a sign, remember the word, an ot, a sign for rebellious people, for Bnei Meri. And this will put an end to the complaints so they won't have to die when I have to punish them. Moshe did, what's that mean? Moshe took the staff of Aaron, put it in the oil moed next to the Aaron, as God said. And now the next time the people complain, what should Moshe do? He should take that staff, take it out, because it's there, Bishmer, for safekeeping, show the people and remind them. Well, if I follow Chumash, the next narrative in Chumash is not Perek Yud or Yud, those are law sections. The actual next narrative in Chumash is chapter 20 in Parshat Chukat, in next week's Parsha. And Am Yisrael are in Midbar Tzin, there's no water, and the people complain, and it's the same old complaint. What do they tell Moshe Rabbeinu? They gather against Moshe and Aaron. Why'd you bring us out here to die? We should have died beforehand. Why'd you bring us here in the desert to die with our cattle? Why'd you take us out of Egypt? Basically, the people are fuming. They're angry with Moshe. Again, they think they're on a death march, and they're blaming Moshe and Aaron, and basically, in light of that, blaming God for the predicament, and they've had it. If I follow God's commandment, what should Moshe do? Moshe and Aaron should now take the staff of Aaron from the Ol Moed, show the people, and rebuke them, and help them. Instead, what happens? Instead of responding to the people's complaint, what are we told? Vayavo Moshe v'Aaron mipnei hakahal. They sort of run away from the situation. They don't respond at all to their complaints. They come to the Ol Moed, and God has to come and save them. What does God tell Moshe and Aaron to do? Basically, exactly what he told them to do in Parshat Korach. What did God say? Kach et hamateh. Don't take your mateh, take Aaron's mateh, which is an oat lifnei Mary. Take the mateh. I gave you a tool to solve the problem. You can't come running to God every time there's a problem. You're the leaders. I gave you tools. Take your leadership tools. Talk to the people. Help them. You know how to get water. You've done it before. Give them faith. Encourage them. And use the tool I gave you to remind them of their experiences. Instead, Moshe, like many times in Sefer Bamidbar, falls on his face and is not able to deal with the situation. And therefore, God has to tell him what to do. If you follow the story carefully, God tells Moshe to do what he should have done on his own. What does he say? Kech hamateh, which means Aaron's mateh. Hakelet eidah, together with Aaron, your brother, gather the nation together. Speak, el hasela leinehem v'natam imav, as I follow all the Parshanim other than Rashi, that not speak to the rock, but speak about the rock in front of the people, about it giving water. Votzeit lemayim min hasela, take water out from the rock and give them to drink. And that's what Moshe does. What does Moshe do? He takes hamateh, vayikach Moshe et hamateh lifnei Hashem. He takes the mateh from the Kodesh Kodashim. What does he do with it? Kasher tziva, as God commanded him back in Parshat Korach. He gathers the nation together. He talks to the people about the possibility of the rock giving water. But he says first, Shimuno Hamorim. He shows them the mateh of Aaron, which is an oat lifnei Mary. And therefore he says, Shimuno Hamorim. Listen, you rebellious people. Do you think we can take water out of the rock? I'll follow the Ramban. They should have said, do you think God can bring the water out of the rock? But do you think it's possible? Why are you doubting God? And then Moshe lifts up his staff. Now he's taking his own staff. But the staff of Aaron is the oat lifnei Mary. Moshe's own staff is what he can do miracles with. Moshe takes his staff like he did back in Parshat Beshalach. He hits the rock, hits it twice. Water comes out and he gives the people to drink. In the aftermath of that event, God tells Moshe and Aaron, listen, it's not working. And I don't think Moshe is being punished for what happened. Basically, it's a consequence. God's telling Moshe and Aaron, it's simply not working. This generation and you aren't getting along. You don't have the tools to transfer all these miracles I'm giving you to an educational message to get the people ready. It's not a sin of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's just a tragedy of Sefer Bamidbar. The Moshe and Aaron are such a high level that people don't appreciate their leadership. God's going to say, you need to bring them into the land of Israel. You've lost your leadership for taking them to Israel. In the meantime, you can still be in charge, but don't need new leadership. They can take God's miracles and translate it to an educational message to get the people not to have this attitude of blaming everything on God, but rather taking responsibility instead of asking for privileges. Everyone should have a Shabbat Shalom, and hopefully we can internalize these messages in our own time.